Hi, my name is Gabrielle Negretti, and these are my math word problems and my analysis of how two people solved them. So my first question was called lunchtime, and it asked the question, Justin brought a sandwich to lunch every day for school. If he only ate 3/4 of the sandwich every day for 4 days straight, how many sandwiches did he end up eating? So when I initially wrote this problem, I thought it should be solved 3 over 4 multiplied by the 4 days straight that he would be eating in order to get the whole number. So looking at the two people that I decided to have answer these questions, I first, on the left side, had my brother solve the problems, and he's in his 20s. And then on the right side, I had my nephew, who's in 6th grade, solve the problems. So looking at the left side, my brother, he solved it not initially the way I presumed would be solved. I initially thought that it would be solved the same way that my nephew decided to solve the problem, 3 by 4, getting you 12 over 4, and then just reducing the fraction from there. He solved it instead by reducing both fractions by dividing by 2, and then getting 6 over 2 equals 3. The next question was called Date Night, and it asked the question, Melissa and Danny went out to dinner and a movie together. Danny paid for dinner and got 2 meals that were $16.50 each. If Melissa paid $9.75 for each ticket to the movies, how much more money did Danny spend than Melissa? So the way I thought this problem should be solved was initially starting with first what Danny paid, so $16.50 times 2, and then what Melissa paid, $9.75 times 2, and then just subtracting Melissa's sum by Danny's sum. So looking at the left problem, the left side, my brother's work, he essentially did the same thing. He just did $16.50 plus $16.50 instead of doing a multiplication problem, and $9.75 plus $9.75, and then subtracting the 2. So what I can see is so far, looking at the questions that I've written, my nephew, who is in 6th grade, has currently been solving it the same way that I think it would have been solved, and this just might be signaling the different ways that math is being taught. My brother, obviously now 29, learning math a different way than my nephew currently is. The next question was called Princess Birthday Party, and it asked the question, Emma is buying party favors for her princess birthday party with her mom. Emma sees a pack of 4 crowns and decides to buy 3 packs. If Emma wants to buy every guest their own princess crown and she has 20 guests coming, how many more packs of 4 will she need to buy? So I thought that this question should be bought by first figuring out how many crowns she already has. So if she has a pack of 4 crowns and she buys 3 of those, then that would be 4 times 3, which is 12 crowns. Next, you would need to figure out how many more she's going to be needing. So if she has 20 guests coming, she already has 12, then she would be needing 8 more crowns. And if the crowns come in a pack of 4, then 8 divided by 4 should be 2. So the answer should be 2, and that's how I would go about solving the problem. So looking at the left side, my brother solved it really without any work, which he shouldn't have done, but he got the number 12, and out loud he just decided that if he already had 12, then she needed 8 more, and he just said, oh, she'll be needing 2 more. With this one, my nephew did need to show a bit more work. He decided he struggled a bit in figuring out the problem. He had to reread it over again, because at first he thought that she only had 3 crowns, because he didn't read that she had 3 packs. So he initially read it that she had 3 crowns and was trying to do the work for that sort of problem, until he realized when he looked at the problem again that she had 3 packs of 4 crowns. So on the right side, you can see he kind of has some scribbles, but then he eventually figures out what he did incorrectly, and then gets to the problem by getting to 4 and then dividing it by 2 and getting 2. The last problem was baseball practice, and it asked the question, Adam and PJ need to clean up their baseballs from practice. If the whole team used 64 balls, how many balls do PJ and Adam need to pick up each? And then the second question that goes along with that is, if they're picking the balls in cases of 8, how many cases will each boy fill? So if I was solving this problem, I would have wanted them to first answer the first question. So if they had 64 balls each, how many does each boy pick up? So then that would just be a simple 64 divided by 2 problem, and that would get them 32. And then I think that makes the second question a little bit easier by asking, if they're packing the balls in cases of 8, how many cases will each boy fill? So if you already have that each boy is picking up 32, and then you divide that by 8, then you would get that each boy would be filling up 4 cases. If you look at the work, my brother on the left side initially started solving the problem in a different way. He tried to solve He first tried to solve the second problem by going as a whole, looking at 64 altogether, and then dividing it by the 8, and he thought the first answer was supposed to be 8, and he circled that. But then when he looked at the problem again, I told him to read it again, then he realized that it was asking how many each boy would pick up in a case, not how many cases altogether. So he realized that it would just be 8 divided by 2, and that would get him 4. My nephew, on the other hand, answered it the same way that I thought it would have been answered, by first dividing 64 by 2 and getting 32, and then dividing 32 by 8 to get 4, and getting the final answer of 4. So looking back at the problems and what they were solving, I could see that the same way that I initially thought about the problems being solved by my nephew were solved in that way. He went through the processes by splitting it up into different sections, by solving each question for what it was, and really going through and reading it much more than I thought my brother would be. He tried to solve the problems really quick in his mind, or not reading every word correctly, or just trying to do it with the least amount of work, and because of that, it seemed like he struggled a little bit more in figuring out how to solve the problems than my nephew did. But yeah, that's my analysis of how I would have solved it, and then how two people with age gaps would have solved it differently. Thank you.